The second biggest city in the UK declares bankruptcy, and the Italian deficit continues to increase. Also, Blinken commit another $1 billion to help Ukraine, but felt the need to visit Kiev. Why is that? Also, the SEC ran out on legal excuses to prevent a Bitcoin ETF. This and a few more things are the things we're going to be discussing in today's video. And as usual, we're going to begin with Bloomberg. And the main headlines on Bloomberg is how China's credit wreck exposed governance failings to the world. Now, it's no surprise, I already made a video about this yesterday, link above or on the description below, about China's situation with Country Garden. I'm not going to read the whole article, but pretty much there is a crisis in China and Xi Jinping is in a situation where he needs to prevent the collapse of the real estate sector and economy in China without giving too much stimulus and inflating the yuan. If you want to find out more about this, please visit yesterday's video, link above or on the description below. What I really want to cover today is a city that declared bankruptcy in UK. It's the second biggest city in UK. It's called Birmingham. Now, I want to discuss why and how this had happened. The brief answer to why Birmingham is declaring bankruptcy is welfare state. But it's not just that. Let's break this down a bit more. Now, we can see here, they are, according to themselves, the local government is facing a perfect storm. From a huge increase in adult care demand and dramatic reductions in business taxes to the impact of rampant inflation. So yes, inflation in the UK is one issue. But let's look at this one, the social care demand. Social care, welfare state. I keep saying here in this channel that the expenses of the government cannot grow forever. The more they grow, the more inefficient the government becomes. And it's not just the growth on adult social care. Look at what else happened here. The council said it would have to effectively declare bankruptcy because it had no more money to cover compensation award to former female staffers, which have been draining its coffers for years. Now, the issue is they fought for equal pay for women. I don't want to make a discussion about how fair it is and if women are getting fair paid or not. This is not the point of this video. What I want to discuss is this. They pass laws that enable the labor force to have more rights. And of course, the more rights given to the labor force, the more companies are going to move out of your jurisdiction. So the more you increase the rights of the employees, the higher the cost for business in your area, and companies will go out. Companies going out means less taxation for the region to collect. Now, on top of that, what happened now is once they gave rights to the employees and the private sector moves out, guess what? The government remains with the employees, and those rights are now affecting the government. So there was a lawsuit of women which are not happy or claiming not to receive equal pay. A lot of compensation has now been paid to them, and those payment is taking the municipality, the council, into bankruptcy. You can see here that they no longer have the money to cover compensation awarded to the former female staffers, which of course has sued them. So the idea of a welfare state and increasing the labor rights, again, increase the costs for the private sector moves out, the government continues with their employees, and these employees now demand too much pay, which of course you don't have the private company to get the taxes from, but you still have to pay. Now Birmingham is declared bankruptcy, and you can see there's other articles here. Birmingham's bankruptcy is only the tip of the iceberg. Local authorities across England are at risk. I could not agree more. Things are not well for England, and people say we are not in economic crisis. I would say if cities going bankrupt does not show that we are in economic crisis, I do not know how or what to expect from an economic crisis. And it's not just Birmingham, as we saw here, it's other places in UK as well. And it's not just UK, it's also Europe. You can see here, Meloni faces worsening Italian budget deficit for this year. Now, it's important to understand that deficit is not the same as debt. So if you receive $1,000 as a salary and you spend $1,200, you have $1,200 total expenses. but your deficit is 200. Is that which supersedes what you collect. And of course, Italy being part of the p.i.g.s, Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain, those countries spend a lot more and they tend to increase their deficit. So Italy is increasing its deficit. And you can see here the spread between Italian and German government bond yields, which is a common measure to measure risk. If you are paying a higher interest on a loan, it's because you are more risky than someone else who is reliable to pay. So if I have to lend money out to someone, the greater the risk, the greater the reward I'm gonna ask, or the greater the interest I'm gonna put on my loan. And the spread between bonds on countries in Europe is a good measure of how risky or how bad things are in those countries. And you can see here the spread already rose around 174 basis points on Wednesday, which means things are not good for Italy, especially knowing that the Central Bank of Europe has pretty much as a target to keep those spread to a minimum. After all, is one central bank to many different jurisdictions. Now let's see what's happening with Ukraine. I want to talk about Blinken, because Blinken went to Kiev, not only commit another billion to Ukraine, but this time he went to Ukraine. I'm not going to talk about the 1 billion. If you want to send a billion to someone, you don't have to go to visit them. And to me, the key is that he went to visit. He went to a territory which is under war. He cannot go alone. It's expensive to move and go there and have a meeting with Zelensky. This is my theory, my speculation. He went to visit Zelensky because the West is not very satisfied with things that are happening in Ukraine. We have seen many headlines talking about Ukraine corruption. I made a video about this, link above or on the description below. The reason why Blinken went to Ukraine, in my view, is that he wants to have a conversation with Zelensky, which is not a comfortable conversation. I think they're going to be expressing how unsatisfied the West is, how unsatisfied they are because they do not know where their money are going. It seems like a lot of money is being sent to Ukraine, but they don't have guarantees or ways to see that that money is doing what it's supposed to do because of the corruption. That's my theory. What is your theory? Please let me know on the comments below. Now, one other thing which I have discussed yesterday and I want to cover a little bit more today is how the US is threatening North Korea and Russia if they do make a deal and if North Korea does supply weapons to Russia. Now, North Korea is pretty much at war in pause for 70 years. They are preparing and they are increasing their nuclear technology and they're increasing their armaments. Now, the thing is, I think this partnership is very dangerous to the West. I think the West have made a horrible mistake sanctioning heavily Russia and sanctioning heavily North Korea, because right now they say, oh, if you guys make a deal, there's going to be consequences. What consequences? What other sanctions can the West possibly implement on North Korea or Russia? If you know any sanction that can be added to the list of sanctions, please let me know on the comments below. What I think is going to happen from this is the following. Russia is the largest producer of nuclear power and is also the largest holder of nuclear power. So North Korea has nuclear capacity and North Korea needs access to more technology because they want to increase their nuclear capacity and the technology of their nuclear capacity. And of course, Russia needs armament, needs ammunition because they are at war and North Korea has a lot of those. So I can totally see North Korea finding a way to send armaments, provide gear for war to Russia in exchange for nuclear technology. And that means an increase of tension on the Korean peninsula and one more conflict for NATO and US to be concerned about. You can see here, North Korea's Kim Jong-un may meet Vladimir Putin in Russia. And I was researching about this possible meeting. I spoke about this yesterday. And because there is a place, and I think they have met in the past, where the leader of North Korea went to meet Vladimir Putin in Russia, it's a short trip in the border. So I think they may actually meet in person. And I think the consequence of those deals are not good news for the West. But I do not know what else US can do. Sanctions, I don't think so. The only real threat would be an invasion or direct war. Now, a direct war with a nuclear capacity country or a country that has nuclear capacity, I don't think that's good news. Now, that was on geopolitics and traditional markets. Let's look at cryptocurrencies. And of course, we have here's what happened in crypto today. The only thing that I feel worth of mentioning to you guys is this one. The SEC is out of legal options to stop a Bitcoin ETF conversion from grayscale. Here we have it. The US Securities Exchange Commission, SEC, is out of legal reasons to continue stopping a conversion of grayscale flagship Bitcoin fund to a spot exchange traded ETF. So it seems like even though BlackRock has applied for ETF, there's a possibility that grayscale will be the first one to have a spot ETF. Now, it is important to notice that a Bitcoin ETF is not Bitcoin. If you want to find out my views and more details about Bitcoin ETF, what utility it has, and the difference between an ETF and Bitcoin, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, because I'm going to be making a video explaining precisely that to you guys. And of course, as I shoot this video, Bitcoin price continues to be at 25.7, below the 26,000 mark. You can see here, right now is at $25,739, which again, much lower than what it was before on the climb to the 28. So in my view, the situation in China, the economic situation in Europe, and many more things, it still means a deflationary pressure for Bitcoin, as I keep saying here to you guys, not financial advice. Now my question to you is, what are your thoughts? You think those events mean a deflationary pressure to BTC, or those will not affect and Bitcoin will go into the bull market? Please let me know on the comments below. This is it for now. Please do like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and see you guys on the next video.